I am Doomsvince. This is day 136 of Spawn Year.
I finished a whole other season of Spawn now, and I really wish I was excited for the next season as I was after the first. 6 days ago, I was almost happy to be here, chomping at the bit to see how the series would defy my expectations next. Spawn was learning and growing, tragic but subtle and interesting, and the stories were layered, engaging, and bold and confident. Fundamental changes are the essence of the show. Less deliberate pacing, fewer standalone stories, progressing a grander narrative, so each episode feels like a really decompressed chunk of a longer story. Putting Spawn so far in the background has, for some reason, also brought with him a less likable characterization. The first season borrowed ideas from the comics and made them its own. This season retells a lot of what was in the comics. It merges Wynn's manhunt for Terry with Spawn's siege on his building, but those stories turn out more or less the same. They're truncated from the comics, and yet it still feels brutally slow-paced. Yet, at the end of the day, while I wish the show had continued going its own way and hit the ground running with the inspired notion of Spawn sparing the worst scum on Earth so he wouldn't become that very scum himself, accepting that perhaps there is a place for his new existence after all, if I have to see whiny Al refusing to let go of a now two-dimensional Wanda, at least it all makes more sense here than it did in the comics. Spawn decides to go after Wynn because one of his men tried to kill Wanda, and oh yeah, Wynn had Al murdered, which he's known ever since he made Chapel crazy but has never thought to mention it since. And that's okay. Given that security guards get more dialogue than Spawn does now, that's not altogether surprising. I like that Spawn's reasoning for wanting Wynn dead is more than petty revenge. He knows killing his enemies is what Malebolgia wants, as Clown reminds him, suddenly showing up again after being missing half the season. That's alright, Clown, you didn't miss much. So I can appreciate his wanting to protect Wanda even if it's futile to keep pining away for her. That's not inconsistent with his epiphany last season. Cog tells Spawn that if he kills Wynn, Hell will just send him back as powerful as Spawn. Okay, that's way more concrete than no, you're playing right into their hands, and it's nice to have a specific, less convoluted plan from Hell than just confusing Spawn into submission. But I thought Hell spawns were only chosen once every 400 years, so even if Bulgy made an exception to that policy, how could Cog be sure that's what's happening here? And B, why does Hell need Spawn to kill Wynn? I get that vaguely Hell always wants Spawn killing, but this seems like a big conspiracy to specifically make Spawn kill Wynn so he'll go to Hell and come back a Hellspawn. The only way Bulgy is even manipulating the situation at all is by implanting premonitions in Wynn's dreams, of Spawn coming to him and also Clown, both of which eventually happen. But if Hell wants Wynn dead, why warn him? And it can't be some no direct interference rule, some hellish version of the Prime Directive. Spawn is now a creation of Hell, wearing their flag essentially. So what's the difference between hoping Spawn will kill Wynn and ordering, say, I don't know, Clown to do it? The only thing I can figure is that Cog is mistaken, and Clown's only encouraging Spawn to kill Wynn because he wants him to kill in general, which he's actually been doing all season, mostly, and only really hesitating now. A big chunk of the episode is another long sequence that wants to be intense, but it can't because, 1, it's focused on random cardboard guards and agents. 2, I can't be worried about our protagonist because I know guns won't kill him. 3, I can't be worried about Wynn because so much is played out like the comics I'm confident Spawn won't kill him. And 4, I wouldn't be worried about Wynn anyway because, well, he's a psychotic, inhuman, wannabe despot who has zero redeemable qualities and, it turns out, has been psychically influenced by Malebolgia this whole time, and that's in addition to the source material I could have done without. You don't fix a character's lack of depth with pseudo mind control. So Spawn gets through the barrage of guards to win, reveals he's Al Simmons, remembers what Cog said about his becoming a Hellspawn if Spawn kills him, and just tells him to leave them Fitzgeralds alone. I'm glad Spawn's not an idiot here and decides not to unleash a superpowered, empathyless Jason Wynn on the world for his own purposes, but it says a lot about the plot over character direction of this season that it ends on the same note as last season, except when Spawn chooses not to kill there. It means something, and here, it's just another brick in the wall. Okay, so he doesn't kill Wynn. He's still harvesting plenty of souls for Bulgy, and going against a profound, character-defining moment for no discernible reason. At least he sort of learned something in listening to Cog's advice, something he still can't bring himself to do in 80 issues in the comics. Terry finally is allowed to return home after that reporter introduced last episode, Lisa, comes to Sam and Twitch with information about the guns Spawn stole from Wynn, and Terry being framed for stealing them, which would have been more touching if I had come to care about Terry maybe based on living with him through some tough moral decisions like I did with his wife last season, rather than his just being a generic victim I spent a grueling amount of dull screen time with as he ran and then ran some more. I can't believe we never see Terry sitting on a park bench with a box of chocolates. Some of the dialogue has gotten a little cleverer again, but you've really got to be watching for it. Toward the end, Clown tells Spawn that Bulgy made him look like he does once because he was angry, which is more of an explanation for his human appearance than I can recall ever hearing in the comics, and Spawn says, "It suits you." So now Clown has introduced himself to Wynn, and I'm sure they'll be conspiring together like they do in the comics next season. I was enjoying the idea that Wynn has to piece together that this force that's aping him is actually mystical in nature, that he's dealing with evil itself, facing the pure form of what he has maybe allowed himself to become, rather than it suddenly coming to him in his dreams and foreshadowing things, even though that evil apparently actually wanted him dead. I wish I'd get a premonition like that too. I came here and finally got some rest and enjoyed some of my favorite things. But right now, all I'd really like to see is the end of Spawn Year. Signed, Captain Logan.